Hi, this is Beth from Around the Table Yarns. Tonight is Monday, June 2nd. This is our last session for the Sokid socks by Lorilee Beltman. We are doing the toes today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the sock pattern overall. And we'll talk a little bit about our next sock, which is the ribbit socks from Celine Phaeton. We're starting those on July 7th, and Celine will actually be joining us on July 7th on the Zoom as a special guest. So we're very excited that she's going to be part of our sock club, and she can talk a little bit about her pattern. It has a fun construction and a fun heel. But let's get into the Sokid sock and the last parts of the Sokid sock by Lorilee Beltman. So here you can see my Sokid sock so far. This is my least finished one. I have one that's almost done that I'm gonna pretend I finished while I was talking. And I just want to talk a little bit about the elements of this sock to encourage people who are trying or thinking about trying Sock Club to really give it a go. We record all of our sessions, and we do also answer the phone at the store. So if you have questions that our recordings don't answer, 216-230-9224 during working hours, and we will tell you what we know. What I like about this pattern, this was a design by Lorilee Beltman, and she did it originally as a knit along. So I believe there's some video support from her as well. But here are a couple of features about this sock that I found really interesting. One, the beginning. This is not your typical ribbing. So one, it looks unusual because it isn't just a typical ribbing. So it's not boring like a typical ribbing can be. It's mostly knit or purl in the row that you're in with these breaks for these, um, they sort of look like little castles to me. I don't know what you think they look like, but I think they look like little castles. So it's not your typical ribbing, which I'm not very fond of typical ribbing. And so I really enjoyed doing this. I'm not sure if I'd like this as a sock because I haven't tried these socks on yet to wear, but it looks like it's pretty firm. It's got a nice stretchy edge. I'm very encouraged by that. The second thing is the heel shaping is done with these increases with yarn overs. And what that means is it's not your typical heel shaping. You're working in the round, and while you're working in the round, you set markers and you do the increases with a yarn over, and on this side a knit two together, and on this side it's just a yarn over. So you can see it's increasing by one stitch in each round on this side and on the other side, because that goes to the other side as well. See? And then when you have all of these stitches on the needles, you do back and forth short rows to do the heel shaping. So all of the stitches are there. There's no picking up involved. And I know that picking up can be sort of a sticky place for some sock knitters. It's a little fiddly. The yarn is very small. It's hard to sometimes see the stitches. So if that's something that stops you from wanting to do socks, this is a neat alternative to that. It has the pickups that are done by short row, and they also have integrated decreases. So the bottom of the heel looks like that. So you can see that it is both shaped with the short rows on the sides and also with these decreases down the center. And that I just found that a really interesting part of the pattern. And then the last part that we've been working on as we go is there are 4 additional decreases after you finish all of the heel shaping. You're back in the round on the typical number of stitches, and then you do 4 more decreases on the sock at the base of the foot, on the sole of the foot. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it tapers the sock a little bit. And if you ever find that that you need a little bit less material around your foot, this pattern is a nice option. And using that technique of tapering the bottom might be a nice option for you if your socks don't always fit so well. So then you continue working straight. So I finished my last decrease, it looks like about here. And I continued straight until my sock, the foot of my sock is 2.5 inches less than my desired final measurement. I tried these on and I checked, and they were 2.5 inches shorter than I wanted them to be. And so that's the length of the toe. So often when we do a sock, we we rearrange our needles, whether using double points or small circulars or magic loop. We rearrange our needles so that we're at the halfway point of the upper and the lower part of the sock, or the top of the foot and the sole of the foot. And we do our decreases here to create a flat toe. So our socks can often look sort of like, if this is the, ooh, that we do decreases along this line to create a flat toe. So what's interesting about this sock is instead of doing that, we're going to be doing decreases all the way along. So there'll be multiple sections of decreases, and it's going to make a rounded toe that we then just cinch together. Oh, that really looks. Another way we could describe that. Hello. Glad my mother can't watch this. Is that they're going to be decreases, and the decreases go at six, like every time you do a decrease, it happens one row earlier. So the first decrease happens, and then there's however many more stitches. So this is the first decrease, and then you work 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you work another decrease. So decrease number one happens, and then there's 5 rows. First decrease, 5 rows. Second decrease, 4 rows. Third decrease, 3 rows. Fourth decrease, 2 rows. Get the picture? Fifth decrease happens and there's 1 row. And the sixth decrease happens and there's 1 row. Or there's only 1 row after it. So what happens is you get this rounded segment of stitches, and they're all the way around the sock. So it curves the toe in to make a nice rounded, kind of like Kate Atherley's. I'm sorry, that's not focusing. Let's try putting a piece of white paper on it. Might help. There we go. Okay, so the first decrease, 5 rows, second decrease. Focus. It's not focusing, is it? Oh, better. Okay. First decrease, 5 rows, second decrease, 4 rows, third decrease, 3 rows, fourth decrease, 2 rows, fifth decrease, 1 row, sixth decrease, 1 row. So it's got this nice accelerating curve that creates more of the barn toe, similar to the way that the Kate Atherley socks that we've done do it. So it's not just coming up and shoveling in and then being flat across the top. It's a much more rounded top. So I really like that aspect of it. And you can see it here in my finished sock, or my nearly finished sock. So I started my decreases here. They're all done as knit two togethers, and then you knit some stitches. This is maddeningly not in focus. It's trying to decide what to focus on. It wants to focus on my finger. Finger's in focus, but not my sock. I think you can see the lines of decreases there. It does not want to focus on that. Oh, hello. That better? You can never tell whether a dark background or a light background is going to help this camera. Anyway, you can see the lines going all the way around, and that's on all sides. So it makes a different kind. So there's not this one line that goes down the side of the sock. So the nice thing about that is you don't have to reposition your needles. When you're making these socks, your needles are sort of north and south instead of east and west. So my needles are split at the bottom of the sole and the top of the foot. And I don't need to do anything different about that to continue. I don't need to reposition them so that they're starting at just the bottom of the foot and the top of the foot. They don't have to change anything. The only thing you have to change is where you split your needles off. And this would be whether you're doing the magic loop or the double points. So the decreases are worked by a knit two together, followed by a number of stitches. For my size, it's 6 stitches. And depending, so I have 7 that I've worked. The first one is a decrease, and then 6 regular stitches. I'm going to do another knit two together and 6. Another knit two together and 6. And that leaves me with 4 stitches on this side of the needle. So this is where I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging because I either want to have all of my stitches on this needle or all of my stitches on the next. I don't want to be doing these decreases with some on one needle and some on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and work the knit two together, knit two, and then I'm going to reposition the turn of my needle here. So I'm going to act like that's the beginning of this round. So I've just pulled up the cable so that those stitches begin the second side, the second half of my thing. So I've done one, knit two together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, knit two together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, knit two together, and we should come out to exactly the same number of stitches. The last one, knit two together, and I have 6 stitches remaining. So then I would work 6 or 5 plain rows, and then I would repeat this decrease row with just 5 stitches following because the section that was 8 stitches, it's now only 7. If you need help counting your rows, the way that what you want to look for are those doubled stitches. So when I complete a decrease row, I have two stitches that are worked together and the one stitch is coming out of them. Do you see that? So I've just finished this decrease row and the base of this stitch has two stitches going into it. So they're being decreased into one. What that looks like then here, focus. Okay, so get my big fat thumbs out of there. What I want to show you is right here. You can see the two stitches going into one. So this isn't the row after. This is the row, this is the stitch you made when you decreased the two stitches before. So then you want to count from above that. So if this is the row that you are decreasing in here, that single stitch is the row that you're decreasing in, then you want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will be the row that you're also then decreasing. And you can sort of see that there. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you're looking for your decrease to count from it, either keep track, don't let anybody distract you while you're knitting, or, oh, there, that's a little better. Okay, get my thumb out of the way. So there's the two stitches and there's the one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is the fifth row. You can see they're knitting together. There's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you should be able to count your rows by looking carefully at those stitches. So it's two stitches into one. The one on top of the two is the row that you did the decrease in. So all the rows above that are the ones that you count to see which row you're on of the plain rows. I recommend, if you can, just doing it in one sitting. It's only like 23 rows of knitting. And what's nice is every time you do a decrease, it's decreasing the total number around and they're happening faster and faster and faster. So it only took me about an hour doing this morning while we were talking and doing other things to get to the very last decrease round of the toe. So that's where I am, and I want to just show you that, and then I'm going to do the finishing. So I'm repositioning my needles. I'm ready to do the last decrease round. And the way that I can tell that is that there is one row on the needles. This is the row that was decreased. This is the decrease round, and I've got one row. So I'm ready to do the last decrease round. Get my needles in position. So this is going to be, oh, this may be my second to last decrease round. Let's see. Knit two together, knit one. It's me. I think it's my second to last. Knit two together, knit one, knit two together, knit one. If you have trouble getting in there, I sometimes pull my stitches towards me, put my finger behind them, and then get my needle in. Sometimes that helps me. I still want to make sure that I'm not splitting my stitches. I want to have a nice, easy pull on my working yarn. I keep catching that. There we go. One, turn, reposition. Very tight right here. So we're going to knit two together. Knit one, knit two together. Knit one. Together. One. Double check my pattern. I did have a pattern here somewhere. Hold please. Okay, I have one more knit round. And then I'm going to finish with a knit two together all the way around. And then we're going to take our darning needle and pull it through all the stitches to finish it. So let's just do that super quick. So this is a plain knit row. Oh, that's cute. I'm going to have a little orange tip of my toe. I've been using the Skepias Arcadia sock yarn. Been really pleased with it. It's a nice smooth yarn. It's an inexpensive sock yarn. I think it's under $10 a skein. I could be wrong, but it's a great price and it's got over 400 yards and it's not a merino. It is a superwash. It's not a merino. So it's a little toothy. It's a little bit, it feels a little more durable. All right, so now we're going to knit two together all the way around. This will be my very last round of the sock for this sock. When I have trouble getting in, I like to scoot it up on the left needle to where the needle is thinning. So I have a little extra room to get my needle in. And I do tend to like pull my needles apart a little bit so that I make the stitches without splitting my yarn. So I'm going to end up with only 7 stitches on. I've got 4 on one side. I'm going to decrease these 6 down to 3. One, two. And if you're having trouble, another technique that you can do is to pull the fabric away to elongate those stitches a little bit and to also move towards the tip of the left needle. If you're having trouble getting into your stitches when you're knitting two together, those are two techniques that are really helpful. Okay, I like to get them all in a line here. So I've just pulled my needle through so that the stitches are lined up straight. I'm going to break off my working yarn and thread a darning needle. I just took an embroidery class and they said you don't thread the needle, you needle the thread. So you take the thread and hold it firmly in your between your fingers and then move the needle down onto the thread. Where the yarn is coming out of, I want to go to the opposite side so that I'm completing a circle. I'm not going backwards on the circle. It's nice and firm. So I want to go into these stitches from the opposite side of where the yarn is attached. So the yarn is attached here to the last stitch. The yarn is coming out from the last stitch. I want to bring it into the first stitch. I do apologize for the There's my dog. Not focus. There we go. Okay. So So I'm just going to slide them off there one at a time. Trying not to lose. Oh, I lost one. Just be patient. And one, two, and there's the last one. Last two. Pull your working yarn through all the stitches to cinch them shut. And then I take the working yarn on the darning needle through here, through the center loop, and catch it with my fingers. Pull the sock inside out. Pull firmly on that. And then you just want to weave in the end here by the toe. And I'm going to go directionally away. I just want to secure this. Yarn can shrink a little bit in the wash or can move a little bit in the wash. So I want to go away from my opening by about 1/2 inch, and then I want to come back towards it. I'm not going all the way through these threads or these yarns. I'm skimming them with my darning needle so that my yarn is not doubling up the thickness of it. It's just sort of laying on the surface of those. If you go there and back again, that's usually enough to finish it. If you feel nervous about that, you could do one more pass, but I'm pretty sure there and back again will be plenty. But here we'll do one more. So again, what I'm doing is I'm skimming, splitting those stitches. I don't want my finishing work to show through on the front of my sock. So I just want to kind of skim and pick up strands. And I don't want to pull on the working yarn so that it distorts. Like I don't want to pull here so it pulls these stitches and distorts them. Once you've gotten to there, you can cut, leaving about 1/4 inch so that as you do laundering or you wear your socks, very dull scissors. As you wear your socks, that end is not going to come through to the front. So there's that finished. Let's look at it on the right side now. There's the finished toe, a little dot of yellow. And then we have this end to finish. It's a little stretched out there, so I'm going to use my darning needle and my tail to unstretch that part a little bit. I'm going to thread this again, or needle my thread. And this has gotten a little bit I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit elongated there. So that should be a little closer together. And so what I'm going to do is take my tail and stitch across that opening to draw it a little bit closer together. And then take my needle back to where I started. So I've just kind of closed up that opening a little bit. And then I'm going to weave down inside again, splitting stitches as I go, not coming through to the front side, coming back towards where I just sewed away from. Again, splitting stitches, not going through to the front side. You can do that one more time for security. pulling too tight, cutting and leaving about 1/8 of an inch tail that's facing away from the edge. It won't be visible on the outside. So I've amended the look of that. It's not so apart. I'm pulling it apart to show you. And that's what it looks like on the inside. So you can just see the tail poking out there. I would like focus there. You can see my zigzag a little bit. And that's a finished sock. And I'm really just delighted with how these turned out. They don't look as perfect when there's no foot in them, but they look really nice when you put your foot in them. I can't get my foot onto the top of the desk, so you'll have to forgive me if I don't demonstrate how nice they look. But that's the finished Sokid sock from Lorilee Beltman. So I am delighted to be done with this one, and I'm going to finish the next one and be able to wear my socks now or later. And I hope you've enjoyed the Sokid Sock by Lorilee Beltman with us. All of the recordings will be available on YouTube for sessions 1, 2, and 3, so you'll be able to do this sock yourself at home. And next month, we start on July 7th with the Ribbit Sock by Celine Phaeton. Celine will be joining us on the Zoom to talk about her pattern. I just want to show you the pattern on, oh, hello, it's not there. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Move that. Okay, pressing. Okay. So here you should be able to see my Ravelry page. This is the Ribbit sock. Hopefully you can see this. So it has a kite heel. In other words, it's a diamond-shaped heel, and it's a ribbed sock. It has normal ribbing at the top. This sock is worked in sock weight yarn with a gauge of about 8 stitches to the inch. It comes in multiple sizes, so you can actually do it for children, or you can do it in a thicker yarn if you choose, because it's been written out in a number of sizes. So the finished sock circumference for the gauge as written is 3.75, so that goes down to a child size all the way up to the largest adult size. And it's a $4 pattern. If you purchase it through the store or with the store, we will give you a 10% discount, and your materials will be 10% discounted as well if you buy it through the store. So I hope that you will join us. I don't know where to get rid of this. Where's the close window? That's a new, I swear, every time I use Zoom, it's a new feature. So that's the Ribbit Socks coming up in July 7th, 6 p.m. With Celine Phaeton, the designer, joining us on the Zoom. I hope you enjoy your Sokid socks and have a great 4th of July, because you'll have that before I see you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.